Okay, so as far as diseases of the aquarium, this is it. This is the last video for this week. Well, I say this week, really I'm giving you a couple weeks to work on it, so this is it as far as the lessons go for this course. This is it. You're done. As far as signs and symptoms of disease when it comes to a fish aquarium, if your fish are behaving unusual or strange, if they're floating to the surface, sinking to the bottom, or leaning to one side of the aquarium or the other, could indicate a problem. If their fins are unusually lying flat against the body, if they have rolled or closed caudal fins, a fish is off by itself if they're not swimming with the school, that is if they're not a solitary fish. If they're a school fish and they're off by themselves, could indicate an issue. If the fish appears to be kind of moving in slow motion, not keeping up with other fish, that sort of thing. If their breathing seems unusually fast or deeper than normal. If they're at the top gasping for air, could indicate a problem. If they're rubbing or scratching against objects in the aquarium, or if they're not interested in eating. If their belly appears to be either caved in or unusually thin, or if it's bloated and swollen, both indicate a problem. If the color of the fish has changed, their scales will actually change color if there's an issue. If their fins are frayed, or the back and spinal column appear to be distorted, so they don't have a straight backbone anymore. Also see if their eyes look clear, or if something might look cloudy, if the fish's scales are not normally sticking out, if they lay flat against the body, that sort of thing. Basically, if they don't look like themselves. If there's white spots that cover them, if their eyes are protruding like they're bugging out of their head, or if there's any anal discharge. As far as parasites go, there's some funky names associated with these, so get ready. White spot, this is caused by the parasitic organism Ichthyotherius multifilus, and it causes numerous little white spots on the body and fins of the stressed fish. It's one of the most common diseases found in aquarium fish. Slime disease is another one. This is where parasites attack the skin of the fish, and it will actually cause a large amount of mucus. It can cause death if it attacks the gills, because that mucus ends up clogging the gills, and that's their respiratory system. They essentially suffocate. Hole in the head. This is caused by the organism Hexamida, and it lives under the skin in muscle tissue. And it actually makes the tissue break down, and the skin will open up, and it will make the fish look like they've got holes in them. Velvet disease, the organism that causes this, is Oidinium, and it penetrates the skin cells and feeds on fish. White fungus growth, this is where there's white growth around the mouth, fins, eyes, and gills, and a secondary infection is typically present. If you see white fungus, you've probably already got a secondary infection. Flukes, this is a worm-like parasite, and it attaches to the gills and the body of the fish. Anchorworms, these adhere and burrow under the scales and attack the muscles. And then fish lice, these actually attach to the body of fish and they pierce the skin, and it ends up discharging a poison. Bacterial diseases. Fin rot. Fin rot's the first one we're going to talk about. This is where the edges of the fish's fins start to really appear frayed and ragged. They'll lose their color, and the tissue that's in between the fins ends up breaking down. Mouth fungus. This is caused by a bacteria, not a fungus, so the name is kind of misleading. But it's caused by bacteria, and it'll end up looking like a white tufty material will actually form around the mouth and the white patches on the skin. Neon disease. This is caused by a parasite, Plistophora hyphesobrachonis. This organism is found in the fish's body tissue, where it causes the production of spores, and then they're released when the fish dies. Tuberculosis does actually attack fish. It's caused by bacteria, and it invades the organs and the tissues of the body. Pseudomonas and Eromonas, these are secondary infections in fish that are already sick. This will result in swollen bellies, lesions, or ulcers on your fish. Environmental problems. So these are problems within the tank. It could be a lack of oxygen and an overabundance of carbon dioxide. You can see this actually when almost all the fish are swimming near the surface, gulping for air. They're trying to get oxygen. If the water has an incorrect pH level, this will cause respiratory problems and excess mucus production. Chemical filtration. If the ability of the chemical filtration system is reduced and ammonia ends up building up, you'll actually be able to see this. You'll just see cloudy, murky, gross-looking water. Gravel filtration system. You could have a pollution buildup of iron sulfite, and you can actually see that by the black color on the gravel. As far as treatment for fishy diseases, really treatment for disease includes things like the use of chemicals in the water, with the aquarium being thoroughly cleaned before the fish are returned. Again, sanitation is your best friend. Some fish will need to be placed in a hospital tank and treated more intensely than before they are returned to a normal tank. Most of the diseases and ailments, as far as treatments, you can actually get them at your local pet store. Amphibians and reptiles. This is kind of a short section, but Salmonella is a bacterial disease. We talked about this when we talked about zoonoses. It is a zoonosis, and it's a bacterial disease, can be transmitted to humans, and it affects the digestive tract, and it will actually cause watery, green, very foul-smelling diarrhea. Mouth rot is a fungal disease, and it's associated with sores or open wounds in the mouth. So if your animal has a sore or a wound in the mouth, you need to watch for mouth rot. Mites and ticks are external parasites that will attack amphibians and reptiles. Mites typically go undetected until there's a very heavy infestation. Symptoms include things like anemia, anorexia, or lack of appetite, depression, stress, listlessness, possible death. Okay, one last time. I'm going to reiterate it one more time. If you have any questions, I threw a lot of information at you. We talked about a lot of diseases very quickly. So please, please, please let me know if you have any questions, because this can be a lot. And I realize this unit can be a little bit overwhelming. That's why I'm giving you so much time to work on it. It's really important that we really get into this and digest it and dissect it, because this is one of the things we're going to talk about if you choose to go into vet assisting. This is one of the big things that we do talk about. So please let me know if you have any questions, as always. Otherwise, thanks so much for sticking with me through this.